Okay, let's call the meeting to order. This is,
All right, I'm here. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes,
Can you hear? Can you hear me? Yes?
yes.
Okay, great. Ready? Here we go. Welcome to the January 8, 2025 meeting of the Town of Plymouth, Massachusetts Advisory and Finance Committee at the Great Hall of Town Hall, Plymouth. We'll go to the roll call right away. And if you are here, say here. If you are not here, remain silent, please. Ms. Butler, are you here?
I'm here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Howard?
Here.
Mr. Lally?
Here.
Mr. Lawler?
Here.
Mr. Malaguti?
Here.
Ms. O'Connor?
Here.
Mr. Pizarro?
Here.
Ms. Richards?
Here.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Tompkins?
Here.
Mr. Trudell?
Here.
No, Mr. Trudell? You're here?
Here.
Mr. Trudell, are you here? Okay, we have a full house, all 15 members present. Thank you so much. To start the year off on a good note, this meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format with some participants attending physically, as you can see here, and others struggling, like myself, to attend virtually. Appreciate your patience. This meeting will be airing on Comcast 9, Verizon 47, or on PAC TV's YouTube channel, which can be viewed at pactv.org/stream. The ground rules here, as you all know, if you've been watching us for years, any speaker giving public comment is allotted up to 5 minutes in which to speak. Public comment can be made at the beginning or end of each meeting or in regard to a particular item of which the speaker wishes to be heard. Anybody can attend our meetings physically, or they can go through Zoom. And any way you access your Zoom, our meeting code is 995-2986-0638. That's 995-2986-0638. And our meeting code is 100131. That's 100131. And if you cannot access Zoom, you can call in by telephone by dialing 929-205-6099 and the same meeting code 995-2986-0638, meeting code 100131. Do note that we will not see you, so if you raise your hand, jump up and down, try to get my attention. That's not going to work. We can hear you but not see you. Okay, the views of the members of this committee are their own opinions and do not necessarily reflect the majority view of this committee. So do we have any public, virtually or in the house, that would like to make a comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none. We have some work ahead of us today. We're going to approve minutes, and then we have 5 agenda items. It appears that they will not require a lot of discussion, so we can probably move pretty briskly through our agenda today. I know the minutes for December 18th have been disseminated. Is the majority comfortable having read the minutes to actually approve them? And if you're not, please speak up. Okay, hearing no opposition. I would like a motion. Ms. Richards, would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes of December 18, 2024 meeting of the Advisory and Finance Committee?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 18th.
Thank you, and thank you for attending. I know you're a little under the weather there, but thank you for bucking up. Okay, do we have a second? Ms. Tompkins, would you like to second the approval of the minutes of December 18?
Seconded.
Thank you so much. Is there any discussion about the minutes of December 18? Hearing and seeing none, we will vote. A yes is to approve, a no is to reject the minutes of December 18. Ms. Butler, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lally,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Pizarro,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
I'm abstaining. I was absent from that meeting.
Okay, thank you. And just by the way, anytime you miss a meeting, anybody can look back on the video that's on the town's website and get yourselves up to speed. That is another way of being able to vote on the minutes. So I have given you an abstention, Mr. Snyder, Ms. Tompkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Trudell.
Yes.
That would be 13 approve, 0 reject, and 1 abstention. Excellent.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would change my vote to a yes because I did watch the video.
Okay, excellent. So that would make it 14 approve, 0 reject, 0 abstentions. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Snyder. Okay, so we have 5 articles. Article 1, reports of boards, officers, and committees. Article 3 is the continuation of committees. Article 4 is salaries of elected town officials. Article 14 is Chapter 90 funds, roads. And Article 20 is the Eversource easement Nook Road. So let's get down to work here. Article 1, reports of the board's officers and committees. This is a procedural article recommending that town meeting accept reports from the board's officers and committees which report to town meeting. So that is what we are voting on. It is just a procedural. There really is, to me, no reason that we should
Point of
reject
order.
town
of
meeting
order.
accepting these types of reports. So could I,
Chairman,
is there somebody there to speak to it from the select board? I don't believe there is.
I have a point of order.
Okay,
Steve,
go ahead.
is there any way that we can group Article 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 14 together under one vote?
It's not advisable and it's not really going to save us a particular amount of time. I mean, these are going to be voted at town meeting as each individual one. I understand that virtually there's no discussion on these, but it is a procedural
Okay.
issue, and I don't think it would be in our best interest to group them up like that.
Okay.
All right. So is there any, so I'm looking for, somebody who can make a motion to approve Article 1. Mr. Malaguti, would you like to do that?
Move to approve?
Okay, and Mr. Lawler, would you like to second that motion to
Second the
approve
motion.
Article 1?
Second the motion.
Okay, any discussion on Article 1? Hearing and seeing none, we'll go to the vote on Article 1. Ms. Butler, do you approve or reject Article 1?
I approve.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Howard, Mr. Lally,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Snyder,
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Trudell.
Yes.
14 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions. Thank you for Article 1. Article 3 is a continuation of committees. And the way that works is that we received information on the Cedarville Steering Committee and the Plymouth Center Steering Committee. Those committees are up for review in 3 years at the 2028 annual town meeting with no changes, and a report will be placed on file with the town. We are voting to approve the continuation of committees on Article 3, or you reject continuation of committees. Is there, let's see, Mr. Howard, would you like to make a motion to approve Article 3?
Article 3, continuation of committees.
Yes, thank you. And Ms. O'Connor, would you please second that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you so much. Do we have any discussion on Article 3? Hearing and seeing no discussion, we will go to the roll. Ms. Butler, how do you vote on Article 3?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lally,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
yes,
Mr. Snyder,
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins,
yes,
Mr. Trudell.
Yes.
14 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions. Thank you for passing Article 3. That brings us over to Article 4, salaries of elected town officials. This was brought forth by the town manager, fixing the salaries of elected officials to see what action the town will take to pursuant to General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, with regard to fixing the salaries of elected town officials or take any action relative thereto. The fiscal 26, there is no changes to the salaries of elected officials, and those elected officials are chairman of the select board will receive $4,500 for the year. Each select board member, other than the chair, will receive $4,000, and the moderator will receive $2,000. Okay, Mr. Pizarro, would you like to make a motion to approve Article 3? Excellent.
So
Say
moved.
Article 4, yep, okay. And Mr. Green, would you like to second that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you so much. Any discussion on Article 4? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Ms. Butler, how do you vote on Article 4?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lally?
Yes.
Procedural, the way this works is that the town accepts Chapter 90 funds for the roads. This comes from the state. The amount is $1,591,041.04. The town cannot accept these funds without town meeting approving that. So there's no funding needed for this article. It's we're getting money for those of you who are new to the committee. We are getting money from the state. So are there any questions that you might have before we put Article 14 up for vote?
Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Downey is here to speak.
Who are you? I'm sorry?
James Downey, Assistant DPW Director, is here to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, excellent. So Mr. Downey, Assistant Director of Public Works, welcome to the Advisory and Finance Committee. Is there anything that you would like to add that might be pertinent to our discussion? I think the mic is off.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Chairman, thank you. James Downey, DPW. I don't think there's anything I need to add at this point, but I am here to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Okay, I open the floor to questions of Mr. Downey.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, recognizing Mr. Howard.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Downey. The 1.5 million is separate than the capital request that will be submitted as part of the capital budget. Is that correct?
That is correct. And then just generally speaking, some years back, we've had we have a road program where we've, looked at all of our town roads and came up with a backlog of work. And although the Chapter 90 money goes towards that, that isn't really enough to keep up with the road network needs. So we try to supplement that when possible with an additional town meeting article. And that's what you'll see this year as well.
And that is a capital request, correct?
That is right.
Thank you. No further.
Yes, so this money is money coming in from the state. This is not money being spent by by DPW. Okay, any further questions for Mr. Downey? Okay, hearing or seeing none. Ms. Butler, would you care to move to approve Article 14, Chapter 90 Funds Roads?
So moved.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Snyder, would you care to second that motion, please?
I'll second the motion.
Excellent. Is there any discussion about Article 14, Chapter 90 Funds Roads? Hearing and seeing none, we will vote whether we approve or reject Article 14. Ms. Butler, would you start us off, please?
I approve.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lally,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
yes,
Mr. Snyder,
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins,
Yes.
and Mr. Trudell.
Yes.
Oh, you guys are so agreeable today. It passes 14 approved, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions. Thank you so much, Mr. Downey, for taking time out to be available for us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Okay, let's move on to Article 20, Eversource Easement, Nook Road. Is there anybody from Eversource?
Chairman,
Jen-
the town's attorney, Kate McKay is on hand to answer questions and go over the article.
Okay, so I don't have a lot of information. We had kind of an application that had just a little bit of information. It appears that this Article 20 is Eversource asking for permission to install a pad mount transformer at Plymouth North High School along Nook Road for reliability. Now, I am not an electrical technician, and I'm not sure what that reliability is. But they do need town approval for the easement for this particular pad transformer. Ms. McKay, can you further give us any kind of further information on this?
Certainly, Eversource reached out, I think it was in November or maybe early December, to say that they were in need of an easement for the purpose that you described, the installation of the pad mount transformer. And the purposes that they need that easement for the pad mount transformer are listed in the article. It's an easement that covers underground wires, underground transmission lines, things of that nature, I apologize. And they need an easement in order to be able to access the pad mount transformer, to put it on and then to continually access it and do maintenance, as I understand it. It's a similar request to the easement that they were requesting at Stevens Field. I think it was
Right.
last town meeting.
Correct. Okay, any questions for Ms. McKay? No? Hearing and...
I have a question. Yeah,
Yes,
thanks.
go ahead, Ms. Richards, the floor is yours.
Sorry. our paperwork, there's, the easement isn't here, or there's no plan here for the easement. There's no reference to the property or to any book and page or certificate number. So there's nothing to say where this easement is going to be, on whose property it's going to be, where on Nook Road or on the school property it's going to go. And I think with our past experience with the generator at Manamet Elementary School, with the generator being put on a butter's piece of property, I would be reluctant to approve this without supporting paperwork. Do we have that supporting paperwork?
Ms. McKay?
Eversource had submitted I'll call it a diagram, and I don't know if it was provided. I'm certainly happy to get that over to Jeanette or to the committee. So there is a graphic, I'll call it, that they submitted with this request. And I'm happy to provide it, or I'm happy to call and ask for more definite description of where they're looking to put it. Whatever the committee pleases, I can certainly do that. But they did provide a graphic.
So,
Okay. We did not receive that graphic in our packet.
Okay. I can provide it.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
through the chair. So, yeah, I mean, Eversource, NSTAR, Edison, they've been doing it, this for many, many decades, with appropriate paperwork. So I would vote to not approve this until we have all of this supporting documentation. And I would ask my fellow members to also wait for the appropriate paperwork before we approve this. Thank you.
Okay, any comments to Ms. Richards' comment? So if we reject this, we can take this article up virtually any time in the next few weeks. It's not one of these that's going to be a long, long discussion, hopefully. So I personally would be amenable to rejecting this article because we really, as Ms. Richards has pointed out, we really have no idea where they're going to put it. I mean, for all we know, they could put it right in the gymnasium of the school. We don't know. So it might behoove us from a procedural standpoint to require that these organizations make sure that we get the proper documentation.
Chair.
Yeah, excuse me. I think, Chair, it looks like Mr. Snyder has been vehemently trying to get your attention to.
He has been, and I
respond
will.
to. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you saw that. Thank you.
Yep. I will go to Mr. Snyder. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Christine. And Philip, following up what she was saying, my first question was how close to the school is this substation or this transformer? And my second suggestion is that I would make a motion to table this until we had all the information in front of us.
Second.
Okay, so I mean, we from here, unless there's further discussion, well, we're not in discussion yet. So unless there are further questions for Ms. McKay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve Article 20, and then we can vote. If you want to vote to reject it, that's up
There's
to
a
you.
motion on the table. There's a motion to table it.
Yes, it's a motion.
It's been
to table
first and
made
seconded.
Okay.
So that has to be voted on.
All right. So who made the motion for the record?
Mr. Snyder.
Okay, so he made a motion to table it. So and who seconded that motion?
I
Mr.
did.
Dunn? Okay,
Yeah.
Jeanette, you have that on the record. Okay, any discussion amongst the committee about this tabling Article 20?
I have a comment a discussion item. I note that there is a graphic that we didn't receive in the packet. However, it's lacking in sufficient detail to answer the questions that were asked. So we want to make sure that that gets back to the town before we meet next, please.
Okay, duly noted, thank you.
And Chair, Mr.
Okay.
Pizarro has his hand up.
Any further?
Mr. Pizarro has his hand up.
Yep, okay, Mr. Pizarro, the floor is now yours.
Thank you. Through the chair, it was a question for Ms. McKay, if I could go forward with that.
Yes, please.
Okay. It looks like the request was through the town clerk, sent through the town clerk. So which department gets these requests, and do they take a look at, these documents and things like that? And what do they tend to give a recommendation that they've looked at it and kind of recommend accepting it?
I don't know that I could. So I think it was sent to the town clerk because our town clerk she posts the warrant, and that's my guess as to why they had sent it to her. But it also came to me. I had previously worked with NSTAR on the other easement requests, so they may have emailed me and sent a hard copy to Madam Town Clerk in order to get on the warrant. I couldn't speak to whether or not the town clerk typically issues a recommendation. And I generally receive a request. I forward it along to the appropriate parties to get it on the warrant. And if there are any questions, I speak back and forth with Eversource, and then we kind of proceed from there. When the easement is approved, I get it back to Eversource. They record it, and we kind of go from there, and I keep a record of it for the town's legal purposes.
Okay, so if I can paraphrase, it doesn't sound like any department within the town structure looks at it other than trying to get it on the warrant.
Actually, so thank you for clarifying your question. I'm sorry, I was focused on the town clerk. I don't want to say that no department has looked at it, only because I look at it legally and then I pass it on. I don't want to say that nobody else has looked at it. I would not swear to that at this point. I'm not sure if DPW looked at it once it got passed on.
Okay.
But I took it in for legal purposes. Yep, you're welcome.
Yep. No, thank you, and can move on with the motion that was put forth and seconded. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Pizarro, do we have any other further discussion before we vote on tabling Article 20?
I just have one other discussion point that, when we do get this paperwork that, a graphic or a trace or, I think, in my opinion, we would want to get something surveyed and, and something exact of where this is going to go. Again, I'm going to cite the Manomet Elementary School generator that we're now going to spend $125,000 to move it because it was put on a butter's piece of property. So we don't want that to happen. And if Eversource wants some easement, then they need to do their homework.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Richards. I see a hand up. Was that your hand initially? Nope. Okay. Okay, great. So, in that same vein, would it be, does this committee feel it would be appropriate to have a representative of Eversource come to the next meeting and walk us through what they plan on doing, as opposed to just kind of throwing in an application and having us blindly approve it? So,
Mr. Chair,
just a
point of
thought.
order.
Okay, any further discussion?
Steve, can you hear us?
Not really, go ahead.
All right. There's a couple of points of order that's been raised here. Okay, I wanted to build, this is Joe Lally, I wanted to build on Ms. Richards' comment. We do need a site plan. I would really like DPW to opine on the location of this transfer, given that it's in the public right of way. And if it is indeed on school property, we would want the school to opine on it as well. This is a fairly standard installation for a pad transformer. Nothing terribly dangerous, but once it's in, it's in. It's like planting a tree. It's going to be there for a long, long time. So all of those things that normally are provided for this kind of easement were not provided to this committee before this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lally. Was there another comment or during discussion? No?
No.
Okay, hearing and seeing no further comment, we do have a motion on the table to table Article 20, and we are going to vote on whether you agree that we should table Article 20 and take it up further along in our sessions, or whether you do not agree with our tabling Article 20. So let's start with Ms. Butler.
I agree to table.
Okay, agree. So if you agree, you're agreeing to table, correct? Okay, Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard. No, I don't hear Mr. Howard.
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Lally,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Pizarro,
Yes.
Ms. Richards. Ms. Richards,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Snyder,
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins,
Yes.
Mr. Trudell.
Yes.
Okay, so we have voted 14 to 0 unanimously to table Article 20. And Councilor McKay, you understand our concerns of the information that we would like to have to come back. And I would imagine that this article will be rescheduled with Jeanette to be discussed at a further time.
I do, and I will certainly reach out to Eversource and try to get the all of the information that the committee is requesting.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you,
that,
Mr.
Councilor
Chairman.
McKay.
Thank you to members of the committee.
Very welcome. Okay, so that concludes the articles that we have been tasked to review today. Do we have any other new or old business that anybody would like to bring up to the table?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Lawler.
I have some new business I'd like to discuss with my colleagues.
Please.
Thank you. This is my fourth budget cycle and my third budget cycle with having to do with Subcommittee F. Thank you, Gail. Is that a little better? I have some audio advice here. And it's my my third cycle with the school sub-F committee. And I am in need of advice from the people in this committee that I am seeing a continuous pattern of either not having any information given to us that is the right information that we need upon request, or having disinformation being presented to us in charts, graphs, and pies that are several years old and antiquated information. Recently, in my discovery process dealing with a $187 million budget, I've been asking some very basic and prudent questions of the schools. And basic questions such as, in any organization, do you have an organizational table of who is getting paid, what they're getting paid, what their position is? Basic, just basic elementary questions. I was a CEO for 41 years in a dynamic institution. These are not unusual, out-of-place questions to ask an organization of $187 million. But it seems that I am in rogue territory. These documents of just natural, we assume these type of documents and this type of information is very, very available readily on a press of a button. How many employees? What do they get paid? What are their positions? And maybe even a little bonus of what the responsibilities are of a $187 million entity. And you can bet my frustration level is at a peak right now, considering I spend a lot of time on this. As you know, I am a very, very active member of this committee. And I am dedicated. I'm passionate towards this. And I really thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the manpower to, well, giving Brian and myself, who's co-chairing this, the manpower to push things along. But, we need basic information like this. And this basic information it's kind of a pattern. As I said, this is my third cycle with Subcommittee F. So we have a $187 million budget. What do you want me to do? I can't get information. I can't go in the directions that I want. And even a little bit higher. Let's jump a little higher, Mr. Chairman. Let's jump a little higher in the fact that the town got an increase in monies to the tune of $10 million. And the next thing I know, the schools get $6 million of that, and the town gets $4 million of the 10. And everything's okay, except for the taxpayer. That's a problem. And that's a problem that A&F, I don't know. Is that something that A&F, well, are we going to do what we typically do? This is a question to my members. Are we going to do what we typically do and check the boxes and off it goes? Because I've been here 4 years and I've never seen this committee ever reduce the budget by 1 cent. Not one. What are our responsibilities? 2 weeks ago, we said, hey, Oak Street needs to be audited. 15 of us. Next thing I know, the select group committee, the selectmen say, no. Okay. But we said, yes. Have at it. I mean, what is our function here? That's my question. I mean, I've got this amount of paperwork times 2. That's my responsibility to know cold for Subcommittee F. That's a lot of paperwork, a lot of numbers. And when I can't get the right type of information, what is my job? What are we supposed to do here? What boxes are we supposed to check? What are our responsibilities? I haven't seen any money being cut from the budgets. $10 million just got swiped. 6 went to the schools. 4 went to the town. Where's the taxpayer? What are our responsibilities? Check the boxes? I wonder if there are any other committee members here that are wondering what they're doing and how odd things might be as far as budgetary process or. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm finally getting it. It's almost like everything's okay as long as the money is distributed. And I don't think that's right. So when we're going through our numbers, are we just checking the boxes, making those small little comments, asking those small little questions, but yet pushing the money through? I mean, I've seen that for 4 years. What are we supposed to be doing?
Okay. Mr. Lau, can I interrupt, please? You've asked some questions, and I would like to hear input from other members of our committee, and more specifically, the Education Subcommittee. So, Mr. Howard, you have your hand up. The floor is yours.
Sorry. I'm used to seeing salary at the division level, but not the individual salary of individual employees. I wouldn't expect to see salary for individual employees. So I guess that's my expectation. Mr. Neerman, would you care to comment on that?
Well, I think individual salaries, aren't those posted because they are town employees? Isn't that public information?
It is.
Yes.
So I don't see why that would be an issue or something unusual.
And I think, like, I don't think that we necessarily, sorry to jump in, I don't think we necessarily need, I don't think Mr. Lawler, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you're looking for, like, John Smith made like $73,211 last year. I think you're asking for like a breakdown by position.
Yes, something as simple as what would you want when you walk into an organization. What are the positions? What are they making? What are the slight responsibilities? Just so that you can group things together. And that is not available.
Well, Mr. Chair, if I could speak.
Yes, the floor is yours, Mr. Snyder.
Yeah, I know that in my previous 15 years on finance committees in 2 towns, that we had full disclosure on everything. And on things we didn't award that money. So if the schools came and they asked for a certain amount of money and we didn't get it all, it wasn't all meshed, we took some of it off and we gave them a new figure. That was the figure. That was the way it was. And in fact, the selectmen would have their own budgets and we would have our budget in the FinCom. And the FinCom one always passed town meeting because we had all the information and they didn't because they rubber stamped stuff. And I don't think we should rubber stamp anything. So I'm with Mr. Lawler. I think that we should be very diligent and know where every penny is in that budget. So if someone says to us, where is that money? We can show them and make sure that it's all accounted for before we approve it.
So, Mr. Lawler, how would it make sense for your committee to, I mean, you've been meeting with the representatives from the schools, correct? And they're providing you with information that you don't, either you don't believe is correct information or it's outdated information?
That's correct. You know, Mr. Chairman, you provided, I believe, 8 people the responsibility to look at a $187 million budget, 61% of the total budget. And we can't begin to allocate responsibilities as to who, what, when, and where until we get the proper numbers and information. And that's where we are right now.
So, and I mean, do you have specific types of information you're looking for, or is it that you're asking for information and the people that you're asking are not forthcoming?
Actually, it's multiple. So first of all the questions that I am asking, some of the information is not available. For instance, what my main problem was in getting a list of employees, their positions, and their salaries. That does not exist. A org chart of every school does not exist. The summary budget of 26 reports that were handed to us as quote-unquote basic information, there are charts in here that are 2 years old, irrelevant. I had to call Lynn, the finance director, to fill in numbers in the superintendent's presentation. I am going above and beyond to try to understand a $187 million budget. And this is my third whack at it. And it is very frustrating. I've got an army of people that Brian and I are responsible for that are waiting for direction, and I am not getting anywhere. And it's the same old, Mr. Chairman. Disorganization, confusion, they'll go away.
Any other comments from members of the subcommittee education?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Malaguti.
I'll let Ms. Richards go first.
Ms. Richards, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I did request some information that I did receive, and that was some revenue items. And I do agree with Mr. Lawler to a certain extent that, you know, we shouldn't have to be searching and seeking out every bit of information that we need. We should be simply provided with this information. But, you know, this goes back a couple of months that this has been, you know, in the works. So if we're in need of information at this point, we need to just reach out and say, listen, if you don't give it to us we'll just have to fill in the blanks. But as far as contractual obligations for the employees and for the certificated teachers, then those are contractual obligations. It doesn't matter what they're paid. We're going to have to meet that with those contractual obligations. So it's not like you can withhold money and say, sorry, we're not going to fund your budget. We have to pay the teachers. We're going to have to pay, pay these people. Now, whether we think they're overpaid, underpaid, paid too much in overtime, whatever it is, those are issues that we need to take up with the administration. And the employees aren't the ones that are going to be suffering. So we need to meet with the administrative staff, Dr. Blaisdell, Dr. Campbell, period. And I think what we are going to need to do is just ask them to come to our meeting. Not wait for a, combined joint meeting where we're all, now sitting in a room being heckled. I think we're just going to have a meeting with the budget subcommittee and Dr. Campbell and Dr. Blaisdell and say, listen, this is what's going on. If you don't give us this information, then we're just going to have to come back and say, we don't have enough information to support this budget. And we will support what we can, but we're not going to be able to support administrative salaries that are not contractual. And, I don't know what else to say, but, I do agree that some of the information is definitely lacking. But contractually, we have to pay these teachers and the clerical staff. It would be unfair, to sit there and say we're not going to support their budget because the administrators have not seen fit to give us information. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Richards. Mr. Malaguti, appreciate you taking a back seat to Ms. Richards and yielding the floor. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. I have similar sentiments, and this goes back not just looking at the information that was given to the subcommittee, but this also goes back to my time on town meeting as well too. That one, we did many years ago when I was on town meeting, we actually got a breakdown of department head salaries and other positions on the town side that was given to all the precincts because there was concern and wanted to have more transparency. I think there needs to be the same thing done on the school side, and this goes to sort of the aspect around town as well too, that it's sort of a look over here, everything else is okay. Don't look in the direction where we need to look in. And we need to actually fine-tune everything that's going on within the school budget. Granted, we all support everything that happens for the schools, the teachers, the buildings, everything like that. But we need all the finite details to actually make these decisions correctly. And we're not saying that nothing nefarious is going on, but we just want to make sure that every I is dotted and T is crossed to the expectation of the hierarchy of our committee, and to make sure that we are using the tax dollars efficiently as portrayed, not through the budget cycles, but as expected of us as the Advisory and Finance Committee. I also think that there needs to be more in-depth look at some of the past projects that the school has done as well too, that have been touted as either break-evens or as after this project, we won't be coming for a while asking for money, as some people may know of I think it was the 2015 cycle with the athletic lights and everything at South High, that was portrayed for the solar and everything like that. So that's one issue that the school sort of dropped the ball on, and the committee that I'm on sort of actually helped out with on that, but I think we need a lot more in-depth information on this, and it doesn't go just to the salaries, it goes to actual budgetary line items as department expenses and also project expenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malaguti, for your thoughts. Any further comments?
I just would
Mr.
like
Dunn?
to say that I agree that we obviously that we need this information, but I also want to say that where they haven't given us anything different than they give us every year. So I think for us to expect them to have come with something different this year is naive or stupid, unless we ask for it ahead of time, which we didn't when they sent the budget. So I think part of it's on this is how we've done it for at least as long as I know, and probably long before that. So I don't think I necessarily think that there's any I can say that I can't definitively say that there's any waste. I can't just say that there's anything nefarious going on. I don't think there is anything nefarious going on, but I also think that we need as much information as we can, like everyone here has said, to be able to vet everything and make the right decision for the town. Maybe the right decision for the town is the budget that was proposed. Maybe it's not. That's, I think, something that would like to get to the bottom of and like to have the information. But I think, we're coming into this and now, we've got a few weeks from when we met, when we got our committees until when we have these, a month till when we have our committee meetings. So for us to expect them to have something different all of a sudden, I think is somewhat unfair, even if we should get this information. So I think it's something that we should keep in mind for next year, that if we want some additional information and if we want things laid out in a different way, then I think we should make those requests ahead of time. I think we need as much of that information as we can get now, but I think we should keep this in mind for next year, and try to start on this a little earlier so that we can get this information in time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dunn, for those thoughts. Is that your hand that's still raised, or is there somebody else that would like to make a comment?
It's Mr. Lally.
I think it's mine, but I'm lowering it.
Okay, thank you. So it doesn't, obviously there's water over the dam right now for this budget cycle. However, I would put this task to you, Mr. Dunn, and you, Mr. Lawler, and your committee to build a framework of questions or requests for information, build a framework that we can present to the schools at the beginning of the budget cycle next year, which basically lays out all the various parts of the budget and what you would like to see, what type of information you would like to see that we can base our decisions on. As Mr. Dunn said, I don't believe at this point we can make some real wholesale changes of what we're getting from the schools. And you are correct, Mr. Dunn. We have been asking for the same thing year after year after year. I credit Mr. Lawler with wanting to dig deeper and not do the rubber stamp thing. That's an incredibly valiant job and effort because of the size of this budget. But I believe if we use what we've learned in this budget cycle of the information that you all really need, we can give it to the schools so they can be prepared to come in and give us much better information. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There's a basic understanding and premise that a $184 million organization should have some basics to it. And those basics, and by the way, I'm not going after teachers. I'm not going after the salaries of teachers. I'm not in that league. I'm in a position right now to try to understand the structure, the support systems, and what is the big picture of the Plymouth Public Schools $184 million budget. I am a CEO. I am not going after the small guy. I'm trying to understand the infrastructure, trying to understand what is the support structure, what is it made of, how does it look, simple org charts of a school, simple org chart of a support infrastructure, superintendents. It's not, I'm not asking for anything that's unusual here. It's something that I would consider pushing the button and it being spit out that quickly. This is not over-the-top information I'm asking for. And for me to pass this up on this cycle, no. I'm coming to you, the rest of the people here. This is my group. 15 intelligent people who have been assigned a task to find out. What do? We push the button, it goes through? No. No. I'm pushing back. I don't think that's our responsibility, Mr. Chairman. I think our responsibility is very clear. We represent the people of Plymouth, the townspeople. We're their voice. We answer to no one but the townspeople. We don't answer to the select board. We don't say to this one. This is the townspeople. We're their only voice. They trust us. And I'm saying right now to the 14 of you that, hey, hands up. We have an issue. We've had an issue. It takes a while to understand what's going on with the schools. You can't just jump in and, you know it all. All right, I'm on my third cycle, fourth cycle. I got it. I know the play now. And to follow that ball under those cups, I think I got it. Now I have, because of you, Mr. Chairman, I've got 7 people that we can work together to try to figure it out in this cycle. No, I'm not going to pass it for next cycle. $184 million, $26,000 per student we're paying. $26,000 per student. Those are the numbers. Right from Lynn. The townspeople deserve us, Mr. Chairman, to take a stance and ask for the information and be given the information because we deserve it. That's where I am.
Mr. Chair, may I have the floor?
Is this Mr. Lally?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Lally, you have the floor.
So I'm a newbie on the school committee, and I've been to one meeting so far, and we have talked, Mr. Lawler, you and I, about this a bit. It's a big budget, $184 million, somewhere in there. And one of the things about these kind of budgets that I've observed over the years is the fact that in the school districts I've been associated with, there's a lot of state unfunded mandates. There's some funded mandates, and then there's local money that's provided. So that's the question that I have put forward to Mr. Dunn and Mr. Lauer to take forward to the school, because that's how I'm beginning to approach this, is to understand what is stuff that is within our realm to manage, what is the stuff that's out of our hands that we must do, and then focus on those areas where we can have an effect. You have questioned, for example, the amount of staffing at the executive level, and I think that's a good place to go and explore. But you've also said in our last meeting that I think the budget increase being asked for this year is 4.6, and out of that 4.6, 4.1 is contractually obligated increases to salaries, which I support for the teachers, by the way. So we have not that much to argue about this year, but I think the approach and figuring out direct questions, getting an understanding of what are the things that are funded and unfunded state mandates that just have to happen is beyond our local control at the moment, and then we can zero in on those areas to see where there's opportunity to look at the overall organization and understand where there may be some opportunities for cuts or efficiencies that might reduce the overall local burden of the school district. But that's not going to happen perhaps in 3 or 4 weeks when we have to make a decision. But I do think it's a direction we should go through. And then I think the other concern is you're saying that the school is not being responsive to information requests, and I think that's something that we need to figure out how to get them to be responsive. And I think it would also be important for this committee, or maybe everybody else knows but me, but I'm not sure what the role of the school committee is in this process. But it's unusual in the fact that you have this other committee out there with some oversight of the school, and what's their role in making sure that appropriate answers to the very questions we're asking are also happening. So that's just my observation to date. And I think it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And it may be too late for this year because really, you take 4.6, subtract 4.1, there's $500,000 on the table this year for discussion. But I think they're looking into the organization, if that's our function for this, is our role for this committee is certainly something that's a good exercise to engage in. Thank you.
I think you're right, by the way, Joe, on the fact that 4.1, I got that clear. That's part of the new union contract. But don't forget there was 6 that was sent over, 6 million.
Okay.
Not 4.1. And I think if you start to lift up the rock and look underneath that type of stuff, 6 went over, 4.1 covered the raise contracts. At least 2. Those type of things, build the questions, start the doubt. And that's where I'm coming from, Mr. Chairman. I'm coming from the fact that, I got it. This is not my first rodeo with school budget. But at some given point in time, we have to say, well, what is our role? What are our responsibilities? Because $184 million is a lot of money for this town. And to have that ship sail past, I don't think so. What's our role? I started that out. What's our role?
Okay, so Mr. Lawler, why don't we try to meet with the administration in the next week and try to vet out some more of the answers that you're looking for, more of the information, and get this resolved before we have our joint schools select board meeting so that you have some clarity. Okay, do I see somebody's
Mr. Chair,
hand?
if you'll
Somebody wants to
entertain
talk?
one more blabbering from the group. I'd just like to just make some general thoughts from my first pass of the detailed budget. This is Dan.
Yep, go
So
ahead,
we had
Mr.
our-
Green.
Yes, we had our subcommittee A kind of pre-meeting yesterday and kind of thought about what is our strategy for looking at this and providing insights and, maybe cutting stuff and helping out the taxpayer. And so I just got through the budgeting process of the multi-billion-dollar company that I work for. And the way we do budgets there, and any for-profit business in the land, I would assume, you look at what you spent in the past, what you've spent and what you think you're going to spend for the rest of the year, and then you come up with a budget value based on kind of the triangulation of those 3 points. What you don't do, and what probably gets you thrown out the window, is if you say, all right, what did we budget last year? Perfect, we'll put that in this column, that's the budget this year, and then we'll move on with our life. I think there's many places in the detailed budget where you'll see that department budget for this year is exactly the same as last year. But you have to peel back the curtain just a little bit and look at 25 year-to-date actual and 24 actual spend. What did the department spend in real life versus what they're asking for in the budget? And caveat on the 25, this is half a year's of activity, so probably multiply that by 2, maybe even add a little bit more. But that's how I think about this, and I looked at one sub-line item of one department that I'm responsible for. So this is HR, other expenses, not to pick on HR, but we have a specific line item here, drug testing. The recommended budget is $18,000. In 2024, the department spent $6,125 on drug testing. In 25, $3,280. Multiply that by 2, you're about $7,000. So we spend about $7,000 on drug testing every year, but we're budgeting $18,000. Stuff like that across 100 lines of this budget adds up. And you know, oh, it's only $5,000, but $5,000 is basically my entire tax bill. So if you took every dollar I paid to this town and said, well, thanks for that money, we're going to put it in this account and then we won't spend it, but thank you. That would, you know, that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. So I would just challenge everybody when you get into your subcommittees, look at what was actually spent. And that's where there's a lot of opportunity for little tiny cuts that add up to something potentially meaningful. So thanks, everyone.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Green, for bringing your expertise to the table. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment. I think Mr. Green and his analysis of what the budget process is for the town side is systematic of what it's a major issue. If that's the format that the town chooses to develop their budget, it is wrong. It's not something we should pass over by saying, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Green, appreciate that, it's good, all right. That is major, what he was just saying. Is that the way the budget is formulated on the town side, whereas you throw a number up there, doesn't matter how much you spent on it, but that number is consistent for year after year, but it doesn't matter how much you spent on it. That's not the way that my company did business or formulated budgets. We formulated budgets based on spending. And then there would be an increase to that. That's not the way to do it, what Mr. Green just brought up. That is that should be a major concern to the Finance Committee, as because we know how it should be done. That's not the way it should be done. That's the spotlight that I'm talking about. The change in 2025, Mr. Chairman. There's a change. Again, what is our responsibility? Is it to check the box and pass it through? Take the $10 million that the town got in extra dough and pass it through. 6 to the schools and 4 to the town. Okay, everything's okay. Mr. Taxpayer, it's okay. What's our responsibility? 8:30 at night. Sorry. But I'm just telling you, if we could change how we look at it, what are we supposed to be doing, Mr. Chairman? I know it's a, but to mention it, but to understand it, that's wrong. What the schools are doing are wrong. If that's, Brian, if that's the way they've been doing it in the past, okay. But at some given point in time,
I don't, this, I don't want this to sound rude, but can we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Like, we've been beating the same dead horse for 50 minutes. Like, I think everyone understands what we need to do, but we don't need to keep repeating ourselves 50 times.
done,
This has been 50 minutes.
done.
Okay, so I'm going to put it to the subcommittee to keep digging. You are at the helm, Mr. Lawler. You are at the helm, Mr. Dunn. Get it done. Figure out what you need. Talk to the people you need to talk to. Get it done. Make the change. Make change. So I'm going to wrap that conversation up. And is there any other new or other business before we retire until next Wednesday, January 15th? No, hearing and seeing none. Is there any public comment to end our meeting with? Hearing and seeing none there. We will move to the adjournment phase of our meeting. And I will go through the roll call and actually, I should probably ask for a motion first. Mr. Dunn, how about making a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. I thought I'd get a so moved out of you. And I have not called on Mr. Trudell today. How about seconding that motion to adjourn tonight?
I would second that motion.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Butler, how do you vote on adjournment tonight?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lally,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Malaguti,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor,
Yes.
Ms. Pizarro,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Snyder.
I'm really torn about keeping the excitement going, but I'll vote yes.
Oh, you can vote no if you want. It's up to you. It's a free world. Ms. Tompkins
Yes.
and Mr. Trudell,
Yes.
and that would be unanimous. 14 would like to adjourn, 0 are opposing it, and 0 are abstaining, even though we had a kind of, back and forth there a little bit, guys. So I appreciate the spirited conversation. What I like is people just speaking your minds. That is what we should be doing. We should be putting it out there. And that was very appreciated, and I appreciate seeing that cat, Ms. Richards. I have one just like that at home myself.
Sorry.
So we are going to adjourn at whatever time it is, 8 and something. 8:32, officially adjourned.